memorizing all the words, cards I feel 2 feet tall. I'll stand and shout, no holding back. Do or die, gonna dig myself a hole. Oh, do or die, gonna dig myself a hole. Good evening, everybody. How are we all doing? Hope everybody's doing well. Sorry about the little delay there in getting started. We had a little bit of a problem with streaming. For some reason, the stream was not getting from OBS to YouTube, and it was just basically telling me there was no data. So it took me a wee while to figure out why that was. But now that I know what the problem is, it is now resolved. So we should have an excellent connection, because that's what YouTube is now telling me, which is awesome. So I hope everyone is doing alright. And as you can gather, it's been a pretty busy week for me. And it's not going to get any less busy, I'll tell you that right now. Because this is the last show from this particular incarnation of Jonny Lipsham Studios. I've been running my studio for many years. Excuse me, for many years. Started off being based in London, down in England, and was just based out of a room in a flat. Basically, I rented a flat, apartment, 1-bedroom place, and that was where my studio was. And it was there for a few years, from about 1999 until 2006, and then I relocated back home to Scotland, to Edinburgh, and it's been in my lounge. It's shared our lounge for a little while, and then it moved into the small room in 2013. If you guys remember back when I first started doing my Sunday Night Live show, I didn't really have that title. I can't remember if I even gave it a title at that point. But way back then, we had a very small little box room, rectangular box room that was about 6 foot wide and maybe about 8.5 feet, maybe even less than that, 8.5 feet long. And we were in there until 2018 when we came here. And now this room is 12 by 9, which was glorious. Suddenly I have all of this space, and it's been fantastic. I've been able to have 2 desks in here, this one and this one over here that the Mac sits on. You only actually see about maybe 2/3 of the desk. The rest is out of shot. But yeah, it's been a fantastic 3 years in here, and those of you that have been watching my show and watching my videos since I started making videos in 2014, and then I started doing the show, oh gosh, when did I start doing the show? 2017? If you've been watching my videos and watching the show since then, you will remember that back in the early days of the show, I had to do my show via Google Hangouts because I couldn't use OBS because my internet back then just was not fast enough. I barely had 1 megabyte per second upload speed, and really you need at least 7 to be able to stream, and it was a real problem. And so I had to use Google Hangouts, which didn't require the use of an encoder, but it still meant slow internet. It meant that the picture was not very good and the audio quality was not very good. But you guys persevered. You hung out with me. You hung in there. Hanged in there? No, hanged in there is bad because that's capital punishment. You hung in there with me, and some of you are still here, like people like Bobby Booth, who is here in the chat, has been a part of every single show that I have done, going way back to those days when the picture was awful and the audio was awful. And he has stood with me through all of that, and now we've been in here for 3 years and have much faster internet. So next weekend there will be no Sunday Night Live, because we'll actually be moving our stuff out of here. So all of the studio will be packed down into boxes and will be being shipped across to the new house. We are moving about 25 or so minutes drive further south and east of Edinburgh. So kind of a little bit heading down towards England again, but we're still nowhere near England. We're still very much in Scotland. It's a short bus ride away, basically, to get back into this area of Edinburgh. So we're kind of outside of Edinburgh into a part of Scotland called Midlothian, and we're on a brand new development, brand new built house in a very, very nice area. And I will be doing some videos showing not only the new house and showing the new studio once I have it set up, but also showing some of the surrounding area as well. So you get to kind of get a bit of a feel for kind of what it's like, because I have been spoiled royally whilst I've been here. Some of you who are friends of mine on Facebook will have seen a whole bunch of photos that I've taken from the roof of our house, because we've been able to go out on the roof, and I've been able to sit out there, and there's a gorgeous view over the city of Edinburgh and of course Arthur's Seat, our local extinct volcano. So we have been spoiled being here, and it's been fantastic. But trust me, we are even more spoiled with the new house. And I know I have, in the last few weeks, talked an awful lot about the new house, but really, this is a big thing for me personally, and it's a big thing for us as a family, and it's a big thing for Jonny Lipsham Studios as well, because it's a next step up. So it's, I'm excited about it. I'm a little nervous about it as well. There's some trepidation involved as well. So it is a huge thing. And, for those of you that don't want to hear about my personal life, don't want to hear about me moving or anything like that, that's okay. Take the night off. Go and watch something else for this week. And then, when I start doing the show again, come on back, and there'll be no talk about the new house anymore, because we'll be in it. And, I'll show you guys around and let you kind of see what the new studio looks like. It's not going to be very much dissimilar to what we have right now, except there won't be a window over there. There'll be a window over there behind the camera. And it'll be a tiny bit smaller, a little bit shorter, a little bit narrower. And the door is is kind of a bit of a weird kind of angle. It's not kind of flush to the wall like it is here. It's kind of at some kind of weird angle, kind of where, if you can see over my shoulder here, where the cases are just now, is kind of there, but a kind of weird little angle into the room. A little bit strange. But anyway, so that's where we are. We're getting the keys to the house on Wednesday, and then hopefully we will be moving on the Saturday or Sunday. It kind of depends upon the removal company. They still have not replied to me. So there it is. That's kind of where we're up to. And in terms of internet speed, we at the moment here have 80 down and 20 up. In the new house, we're going to have 900 down and probably about 250 up. So it is an even bigger leap forward in terms of internet. So streaming quality may even be even better than it is now. And I'm going to get some new lighting, by the way, so that I don't look quite so flipping pale, because these lights are too white. I need something that's a little bit more yellow in it. Get the temperature and the white balance and all of that right. So I'm going to pay a little bit more attention to those kind of things going forward. So hopefully they'll be much better lit going forward for my videos and my live streams. So the plan is no show next week, but we should have the internet all squared away. I was speaking to the guy on Friday, and he's pretty confident that actually we'll have it all squared away on Wednesday when we pick up the keys. All of that should be in place, and it should get switched on. And then so the following weekend, we should be able to do a show. So that would be the 11th of July. We'll do the first show from the new and final, hopefully. I don't have any intentions of moving again, trust me, after this. I thought it was a hassle the last time, but this time it's even more of a flipping hassle. So I don't want to have to move again, thank you very much. Anyway, let's see who's here. Thomas from the Philippines is here. Stupendous. He says, good morning from Tokyo. Good morning. Tokyo is an awesome place. I will have to agree there. Bobs is here. Marcos in Brazil is here. Tim Talks Audio is here. Tim is awesome. I'm very pleased and very proud to name him amongst my very good friends. And he has a fantastic channel. If you are not familiar with his channel and not familiar with his videos, go check him out. He does some awesome Studio One content. He covers stuff that I haven't covered. And I am going to shamelessly borrow some of his ideas and do my own personal little twist on them. Yeah. David Anthony is here. He says, I'm early for a change. Morning all from Australia. Good morning, David. Good morning. Australia. Yes, I have relatives in Australia. Mostly in the Melbourne area, but I have some family in Sydney and in Brisbane as well. I've never made it over there. I would like to get over there 1 year to see them and also go and watch England play Australia in Australia. That would be awesome. Being the cricket fan that I am. Mike Neighbour is here as well. Photography, Light and Magic is here. Garen Livingston. I misread your name. Sorry, mate. And Tony Kalini is here as well. Ironweed Studios is here. Billy Morgan is here as well. Bobby Booth. No show is complete without Bobby. We have to have Bobby in here, otherwise we cannot do the show. I'm kidding, Bobby. It's fine. You don't really have to do that. Music to Motion is here as well. Awesome. And Paparaptor Music says congratulations. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. And Bill Shepherd is here as well. Let's see who else is here. Just Bob is here as well. Peter Brooks says play us some jazz for the last time. I will try and do that, and I'll try and remember to do that. Bobby says, take your time setting up your studio. We'll be here when you're ready. Thank you very much, mate. Yes. For as much as I would like to take time setting up my studio, I really can't because I work for Presonus now, so I have to have things set up pretty quickly so I can get back to work. I have a few days off in order to do the move, but, you know, I have to be all set up and running pretty much by next weekend. So that I can be back to work. But yes, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Why not buy a bonsai? They are nice, but I personally don't like bonsai trees, and they need to be looked after, and I really am not very good at looking after little trees. But that's a nice idea. Let's see. Peter Brooks says, as it's the last time at the house, little jazz. Maybe I will play a little bit. Kevin is here as well, and Sean Aaron is here. Wow, we got some folks that have been with me for a long time here as well. Mika's just walked in the door. Hello, Mika. Final show from my Edinburgh studio, which I'm a little bit sad about, but I'm also really excited about the next studio, the next phase. Although the room's going to be a little bit smaller, it's not really an issue at all. It's going to be the final place. and I'm going to go to town on treating it. Couldn't really do that in this room because it's a rental apartment. They did give me permission to hang up on the walls some very lightweight foam, which, you know, did do some good, you know, not quite as good as maybe 4-inch thick rock wool broadband material would, but it certainly did help a bit. And I've got some bass traps in the corners, which has certainly tamed a lot of the low end in here. But yeah, I will definitely, once we're settled into the new house and the new house itself has settled into having us in it, because that's the thing with new build houses, they actually settle a little bit once people are in the house, and you know, when you start walking through the house, you provide vibrations, and that makes the house actually move a little bit, and eventually it settles into its foundations nicely. And then once we're at that point, which is going to be maybe 6 months to a year down the line, I'm going to go to town and treat that room big style, with some nice acoustic treatment. I have got plans for that. So let's see. Bobby says, now that you're not going to be here next week, now I'm going to have to do something else for my birthday. This is true, Bobby. I think every time you have had a birthday and it has fallen on a Sunday, you have been here at my show. So I think you can definitely take a well-earned Sunday night off, and you can do something completely different. In fact, I would recommend go do something completely different, something that you've never done before, without hurting yourself, obviously. But yes, taking a show, you know, do something that doesn't involve Jonny Lipsham Studios for a week. But yes, I will be back on July the 11th, because I have to have everything set up by then, including the internet. Everything has to be working by then. So Sunday Night Live will be a really good test of everything, making sure that everything works correctly. So yeah, so there it is, folks. I'll tell you something I won't miss. I will not miss this pale carpet. I absolutely will not miss this pale carpet. It is a pain in the bottom to keep clean. And it, you know, it shows up even the smallest amount of dust or the smallest amount of, you know, kind of debris just shows up on the carpet very, very quickly. There are nice dark colored carpets going down. In fact, they are already in place. We went to the house today to have a look, and those carpets are already in place. So we're going to have a nice darker colored carpet in the studio, and I will definitely not miss this one for sure. Let's see. I'm just going through the chat here. Sorry, folks. Just Bob says, when are you going to invite us all over for a housewarming party? You know what, folks? If you can afford the airfare, and if COVID restrictions allow you to come over, come on over. Absolutely. I would love to see you guys. I would love to have you guys here in Scotland. Those of you that are not here in Scotland, like Alan is here in Scotland, and there's a few of you in the chat here who are here in Scotland, or you have been here and you know Scotland pretty well. But yeah, if you are from overseas, if you are from, you know, Australia, Japan, or the United States, I would love to have you guys over here. If you have never been to Scotland, you will love it. Scotland is gorgeous and is probably the greatest nation on earth. But that's just my personal opinion. Peter Brooks says barbecue. Yes, I would love to have a barbecue, and we probably will be doing such things once we're in the new house, and we'll have to see what the weather is like for summer, because summers in Scotland can be hit or miss. Sometimes they can be scorchingly hot, and sometimes they can be wet, cold, windy, and a bit miserable, and a bit kind of not very pleasant. So yeah, I guess we'll just have to see what we get, to be honest. But the medium range forecast for this summer looks pretty good. So hopefully we will have a good hot summer. I would certainly like at least a couple of weeks worth of nice hot sunshine. Be nice. Especially as our back garden is south facing, which means we'll get lots of sunshine during the day. Obviously you don't get sunshine at night, but you know what I mean. We'll get a good amount of hours of sunlight in the back garden, and it's going to be great. Peter Brick says, you're up the road from me off the M6. Well, Peter, you are very welcome to come up and pay a visit, providing COVID restrictions allows you to. If you are in the M6 corridor, may not allow, following certain conversations that took place between Andy Burnham, the Mayor of Manchester, and Nicola Sturgeon, the First Minister of Scotland. Could be a little delicate, maybe, but we'll have to see how that particular one plays out. Stu says, Scotland is a wonderful place. I was in Edinburgh in 1988, and you almost moved there. Edinburgh is gorgeous. I have lived in Edinburgh since 2006. And it is a gorgeous, beautiful city. I love it. And we're not actually moving that far away from Edinburgh, but we are moving further out of Edinburgh than I think we've ever been, and it's going to be different. It's a very, very nice area that we're moving into. But yeah, I love Edinburgh, and it's just a bus journey away. It won't be so bad, but yes, it's going to be different for sure. Not being quite so close to the city, but yeah, I'm looking forward to being in the new house. Music to Motion says, how would you go about motivating a talented vocalist to sing when they have a fear of singing? That is a terrific question. It's more of a psychological question than it is anything else. You need to kind of talk to them about what is at the root of their fear. Is it fear of failure? Is it fear that when they hear the playback, they think that it will sound different or won't sound as good as, a commercially released recording that they listen to a lot? Is it fear of not measuring up to those kind of records, or is it something else? I mean, it could entirely just be, there is something about recording that is different to playing on a stage. It's a different kind of pressure. It's a different kind of fear. You know how you have stage fright, and I mean, I have gone through periods where I've not been able to play gigs because I have suffered from chronic stage fright. Haven't had that for a good number of years now, but when I have it, it's pretty bad. And it's not great. I have all of my arrangements in my head, all of them, for my band. And it's no fun when you walk out onto the stage and you sit at the piano or the Fender Rhodes or the Clavier Nord, and immediately your brain just goes completely blank, to the point where you can't even remember how to play the thing. The stress level gets that intense that your brain just completely blanks out how to even play the thing. I've been there. I've experienced that. And there are two things you can do. There are a couple of things you can do. One thing that you can do is you can just kind of try and push through it. Just kind of go, okay, I know that when I start to play, everything will be fine. And you'll get to the end of the gig and you'll go, wow, that was really great. That was so much fun. So that's one approach you can take. The other approach you can take is to kind of take a step back and go, okay, I maybe need to take a little break from performing, just a short one, and maybe actually hook up with a psychologist and try and figure out what is at the root of that fear. I'm not a qualified psychologist, so I couldn't help with figuring that out. However, if you know the person well enough, and you're in that position where you could speak into their life and offer some advice, then and you know how good they are, you know what they are capable of, then you just need to be positive. Create a positive environment in your studio that makes them as comfortable as possible. If they need, I don't know, hot drinks, make sure they have hot drinks. If they need the lights down low, put the lights down low. Kind of do whatever it takes, really, to kind of get them into a place where they are comfortable, and give them lots of encouragement. Tell them how good they are. Tell them that, this song is something that they can absolutely nail. They've nailed it in rehearsal. It sounds great in rehearsal. And the other thing you can do is you can do a little bit of deception. This is another thing that you can do. You can basically say, okay, I just need to kind of check the levels of the mic and that kind of thing. We're not going to be recording or anything. I just want to make sure that I have a good, consistent and clear signal coming through, and to get you positioned in the right spot in front of the mic. So, just go stand up in front of the mic, and we'll play the track, and you can sing along, and kind of get warm and get into the song, and just loop the song. Don't hit record yet, but have the track armed ready, and just let them sing. Just let them have fun with the song. And maybe after the first couple of times through looping the song, then without telling them, just hit record. And you never know what you might get out of them. They might be, at this point, having just sung through it a couple of times, thinking to themselves, believing that there's no pressure, they're not being recorded, then you're actually recording them when they are at their most relaxed, because they're not really thinking about recording. There is this weird psychological thing that goes on in your head where you hit the record button, and suddenly it's just like, we are recording. I must perform differently somehow. And we do. There is a degree to which we go a little bit inside ourselves, a little bit inside our shell when we're being recorded. It's weird because we don't do that on stage. I mean, take any great soloist of the last 50 years. I don't know, take Charlie Parker, for example. Listen to a Charlie Parker solo on a song like Donna Lee or something like that. Listen to how he performs, how he improvises on a studio recording of Donna Lee, and then check out the live recording that he did, maybe at the Royal Roost or something. There's a whole bunch of recordings from the Royal Roost of his you can check out. And compare the two, and you'll see that when he's on stage in front of an audience, he takes a lot more risks and chances, and plays more complex things, and maybe even plays faster runs and that kind of thing on stage than he would in the studio. In the studio, it's a little bit more composed, a little bit more reserved. And there is definitely this weird thing that happens when you hit the record button, which is why I often coach people who come into my studio to record, even if it's just like a voiceover track. I'll just say, hey, let's just do a couple of read-throughs. It's fine. Just kind of read through it and try and find the right pace, the right meter for reading through it. And, we'll just do do some rehearsals. And I won't even tell them that I'm recording. Because they're over there, I'm over here. I will position myself so that they cannot see the fader port that's sat on the desk here. And then I'll just sneakily hit the record button, and I'll just capture their performance when they're at their most relaxed. So you can definitely do that. If you have them in the studio and you need to just get them to work, That's probably the best way. Just say, just relax. Let's just do, let's just do some run throughs, and I'm not going to be recording. When in fact, you're blatantly lying to them. It's the only, really, I'll be honest, it's the only thing in life where I'll actually recommend lying. Ordinarily, I would say truth. Truth is important. Truth is the most important thing. But in this particular case, I'll say, you know what? I think the end justifies the means. Is this the JL Psychology Hour? Yeah. I'm definitely not a psychologist. I wish I was. And that's funny though. But you guys are chipping in with some great advice as well. Stupendous says, how about Glasgow? Yeah, my wife is from Glasgow. I like Glasgow. Glasgow is a great city. It's a great city of culture. There's some great music venues there. There's a thriving jazz scene in Glasgow as much as there is in Edinburgh. Love it. There's some great pubs there. The people are awesome. And amongst some of the friendliest people on the planet. You do have the occasional bar fight, though. But mind you, here in Edinburgh, I have witnessed the occasional bar fight as well. Anyway, let's see. What else do we have? Yeah, music devotion, that's absolutely fine, mate. Not a problem. You don't have to apologize. Okay. Mika says, yeah, one thing I like about Jonny Lipsham is a certain analytic sensibility that I like. Interesting. Never really thought myself as that. And of course, you could always take the most, you could be you could be a little bit blunt maybe and just say, look, you can sing, so bloody sing. Come on, you can do it. Slap round the back of the head. Come on. There's the mic, stand in front of it. Go. Sometimes that works. I'm not advocating violence to your artist, by the way, but metaphorical slap round the back of the head. But certainly sometimes it depends upon the personality and how well you know them, which of the approaches that I've given will work. Sometimes a short, sharp rebuke will definitely work and say, look, you can do this. Now just stand in front of that mic, get on with it. Stop prattling about. That works. I've done that sometimes. But you have to be pretty comfortable with who they are. Let's see. Marcus says, Jonny Lipsham is a calm person. I can't imagine you angry and independent of the difference in my country. Your motivation, good sense, matches with my way of life. Be calm, focus, be healthy. I'm most of the time calm. You are quite correct. However, being that I am Scottish, I am very straight talking and I speak my mind. I tell you exactly what I think, even if you don't wish to hear it. If you ask my opinion, be careful because you will get my opinion. Sometimes you won't want to hear it. But I will tell you the truth. That's what I am personally, passionately committed to, is truth at all times. And sometimes the truth hurts. And, I have benefited greatly from having people speak truth into me. It keeps me humble. And I invite certain people to have that authority where they can speak truth into me. And, they can tell me when I'm being stupid. They can tell me when I'm making a foolish mistake, or I'm about to embark upon something that could be a foolish mistake. I have people in my life who tell me that kind of stuff. And you know what? Those kind of people are the most valuable people on the planet. They're the most valuable people in your life because they will tell you the truth, even when you don't want to hear it. and they're not afraid of the truth hurting you, knowing that long term, ultimately, it is for your good. And those are the most valuable people on the planet. And, I do that for other people. I speak truth to them, and sometimes it hurts them. But, there's a difference between giving somebody a sharp, loving rebuke that corrects them and sets them on the right path. There's a difference between that and, okay, my printer's just started spitting out paper. What is going on here? Oh. Okay, I know what that is. My wife just printed something off. That's cool. She probably didn't think that the printer would go off in the middle of the show. But yeah, there you go. Speak truth to one another, but motivated by, having their good in your heart. There we go. Anyway, I'm not going to preach anymore. Mika says, one important thing is to say those positive reinforcing statements to yourself. We tend to undermine our own abilities for various reasons. Speak positivity to yourself. Yes, absolutely. Being positive about yourself is very important. But also having a right and balanced opinion of yourself is important. An overinflated ego is not a good thing. Keeping your ego in check is a good thing. And that's something I try to do. I try to pursue humility at all times. Now, obviously, pursuing humility can be a little bit like chasing the wind. You can't catch it. You can't grasp it. But I know that by doing that, I serve other people better. I serve my family better. I serve my friends better. I serve my community better. And I serve the people that my friends. I serve them better. And I think by pursuing humility, I have a better, more accurate opinion of myself. Doesn't mean that I talk down to myself all the time and say, well, I'm not, I'm bad or anything like that. No, it means I have a balanced opinion of myself. I know what my strengths are. I know where my confidence is. I know but I also know where my weaknesses are and things that I need to improve upon. And of course, as I say, I have those truth speakers, those people that know me really well, that speak into my life, and they are the people that point out the things that I am blind to, because we're all human. One thing we all can't do is be 100% objective, even when we try. And so I need those people. I need those people to take the hammer and chisel off the rough edges. So, yeah. But there we go. We're getting kind of into philosophy again here. Let's see. Because I don't want to lose people. Yeah, the printer. It was my wife sending something to the printer. So where are we at? We've got about 20 minutes left. Peter Brooks is asking for jazz. He will get his way, but just not quite yet. But he will get his way. Patience. Say me friend is the enemy that hugs you. If you're not playing honest with me, you aren't my friend at all. Honest is the key for reinforcement of healthy relationship. Honest and good, always. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Absolutely. So, yeah. All right, let's get back to audio, please, folks. Whilst we have 15 minutes or so remaining of the final show in the studio, I would like us to get to your audio questions. So, get them in. I mean, we've had one already, about singing, and that encouraging somebody who's maybe a little bit nervous, maybe lacking in confidence, That's actually a good role of the role of a good producer, actually. So that's one way you can really put your producer hat on as well as your pastoral care hat. So yeah. I am going to play some jazz, Peter, don't worry. Just in my own sweet time. But I will get there. Let's see. Got 21 people in here, which is pretty awesome. In fact, we've actually got 23 just now. We have had a peak at 27. So we're a little bit lower than the 31, 32 we had the other week. That was awesome. It'd be great if okay, we've got a couple of questions. Cool. Tritones. I love tritones. Tritones, 3 whole tones. Tri being the Latin for 3, I think. So 3 whole tones. So if I play this G here, and if I count up 3 whole tones, so one tone is G to A to B is another tone, B to C sharp is another tritone, is another tone rather. So that interval between there and there is a tritone. Now, on its own, that kind of sounds a little bit weird, a little bit tense. You know, that is wanting to go there. It's wanting to resolve that way or that way. But if I play a G at the bottom as well, that's where it wants to resolve upwards. But if I was to play an E flat, what do we now have? We have E flat 7, because we have a root, third, and the C sharp now becomes a D flat enharmonically, which is the 7th of the chord. And that, of course, wants to resolve to here, to A flat. So and that, so any 7th chord has that tritone interval in it. And the cool thing about the tritone is if I take this E flat 7 chord again, you can substitute another chord for E flat 7 and get the same result. So if I go, this is chord 5 in A flat major. So 5, 1, 5, 1. But you can substitute a different chord and get exactly the same result. And this is where we get into tritonal substitution theory, which is where if I was to what I need to find to get a substitution is a chord that has 2 notes in common with my E flat 7. So my substitute needs to have those 2 notes in common. What chord has those 2 notes in common? A7. Same notes, look. There's your G, there's your C sharp, as it would be in A, so you'd have, there's the 3rd of the chord, there's the 7th of the chord. If I play the E flat bass, those 2 notes that are in my right hand are identical, but they serve a different function. 3rd, 7th, 7th, 3rd. So their roles are reversed. As well, you know, kind of like the role they play in the chord are reserved. So what I can do, instead of going E flat 7 to A flat, I can go A7 to A flat and have the same result. So if I put a chord 2 in front of that, which would be B flat minor in A flat, that's a full 2-5-1. 2-5-1. Now, if I put in my little substitution, so instead of my 5, I've got flat 2, which is the A, we'd have this. exactly the same job. And that's where you get tritonal substitution from. And you'll hear it crop up, not just in jazz, you hear it in jazz pretty much all the time, but you'll hear it crop up in pop songs as well. You know, where you might hear something like... whatever it might be, but you'll hear that little descending thing, and that's essentially a little 251 with the tritonal substitution. So that's where that comes from. So yeah, they are pretty awesome. Old School Funk and Soul says, any truth to the rumors of 5.3 update next month? Can't answer that question. What about the Lewitt brand? Lewitt make awesome microphones. They are really, really good, and they're actually really, really reasonably priced. I don't have any, but I certainly plan when I'm in the new studio to get at least one, because I really like them, and they come highly recommended. My good friend Warren Hewitt is a big advocate of Lewitt mics. They are fantastic. So if you have one, get it out. Make use of it, record some vocals with it, record some acoustic guitar with it, and compare it to something else like a Rode NT1A or another condenser mic, and see how you like it. But they are pretty awesome mics, to be honest. Marcos is talking about a saxophone player whose name I will not mention. Let's see. Bops New York says, Sphere or just update? I have no idea what that refers to. Let's see. Mahavishnu, yes, they are pretty awesome. Especially when Billy Cobham was playing drums with them. They were amazing. Let's see. Mika says, thank you. I've been hearing more tritones in pop music. It seems to come and go in phases in pop music. Strange that. Yeah, I think it's to do with certain arrangers who are contracted to do, the arrangements for particular artists. Amy Winehouse, if you listen to a lot of her stuff, I know that a lot of her stuff is it kind of has some jazz influences because, she was heavily influenced by Billie Holiday in particular. But the arrangers that she used obviously have some understanding of how tritonal harmony works. The cool thing with tritonal harmony is, although I've kind of talked about substitution and, substituting a chord that's a tritone away from another chord to substitute for it, you can extend the whole tritone thing massively. There is a whole bunch of books. I think particularly the what was that? The author's name? I think it's George Russell. George Russell. I want to say George Russell, who wrote a treatise on chromatic harmony and tritonal, tritone-related chords and that kind of thing. Which is basically, if you want to study jazz harmony, that is really the book to study. Particularly if you want to study the harmonic language of Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie and the music of that period, the bebop period, then yes, that's the book to study because it teaches you everything that you could possibly want to know about how that kind of chromatic harmony works. And by the way, even if you're not into that kind of music, if you're kind of a classical music kind of person, check out some music by Ravel, particularly his late period, and Debussy as well. Their later periods check out some of the chord changes they're using in their music. Debussy was a big fan of parallel ninth chords. So he would take a ninth chord, like let's take this one here, D9. He would take this and then move it down a step. And he would have like this little ostinato of these ninth chords. And then sometimes he would just like walk them down the scale. Really, quite, we would call, quite jazz-inspired kind of harmonic understanding. But, I mean, his music kind of predates jazz, maybe by 15 or 20 years. But certainly I think he would have, went on his trips to America, he would have been familiar with some of the very early beginnings of jazz and would have heard how some of this harmonic language was that he was familiar with from working in the impressionist kind of style. He would have been familiar with that kind of harmonic language from other composers of that early 20th century period, and so he would have heard it being that kind of harmony being used in the beginnings of jazz. And probably was particularly excited and inspired by it to kind of like go into it a little bit further. But yeah, Debussy is awesome. I love his music and I love his harmonic language. But I mean, you can even go further back to, even late Beethoven. You'll hear some quite advanced chromatic harmony in his music. And in fact, you'll find some tritonal substitutions as well. He would use them as a passing chord when going between keys, even if it's only a temporary modulation, you would still hear those little tritonal passing chords, those kind of things. He would do that, except with maybe those kind of sounds maybe. But yeah, Debussy was pretty awesome. All right, so we got about 5 minutes to go, and I know that Peter Brooks is desperate for a little bit of jazz music, so I can certainly do a little bit of that at least. Why not? Let me find something that I can work with. I mean, we could kind of mix a little bit of jazz with a little bit of reggae if you guys are up to that. That's George Russell's book, Lydian Chromatic Concept of Tonal Organization. That's the book. And it was George Russell. I was right. It's just been a long time since I looked at that book. But yes, it was required reading when I was studying composition at university, jazz composition at university. Yeah, it's a brilliant book. All right, bit of reggae. Do I need to create a new track here? I think I probably do. We'll put that mono, and we'll make that input right. Yeah, it'll be fine there. Alrighty. Alright, there we go. That will do for the night. Just Bob says, has the piano always been tuned to how we tune it now, or has that evolved from other tunings? That is a great question. The answer to that is no. It has not always been tuned to 440. There have been, over the centuries, various different tunings. The tuning that we have now was kind of arrived at following developments of a system whereby the distance between the interval of a semitone was equalized across the whole piano, as we know it now. But the problem was that early pianos, the interval of a semitone at the bottom end of the piano was wider than it was at the top. So the lower you went down the piano, the flatter it got, and the higher up the piano you went, the sharper it got, because those intervals, the distance between the keys, essentially, in terms of frequency and pitch, was different. So a system was developed called equal temperament. And this was celebrated in J.S. Bach's 48 Preludes and Fugues, called the Well-Tempered Clavier, which basically means the equal-tempered clavier, the equal-tempered keyboard, which essentially means everything is equalized so that all semitones are exactly equal. But that still predates the tuning to be 440 hertz. That is actually a relatively modern development. I think it's sometime in the 1870s that it was kind of, other countries eventually gravitated towards it. And then it was internationally agreed in the 1870s, I think it was. But before then, there were other systems like 432 and 416, particularly in Germany and some of the Balkan states. 416 was kind of the standard tuning. And then there are other parts of the world, like France and Italy, where 432 was favored. And then the United States and the UK basically came to an agreement and said, we will agree that we will use 440 as a standard for tuning all instruments. And then the rest of the world kind of followed suit, really. And so that's kind of how that has come about, really. But equal temperament fundamentally came first, followed by the next logical step, which was basically to agree on a single point that tuning is agreed, and that is A equals 440. I know that there are various kind of pseudo-spiritual arguments out there for why 432 is more spiritual, more wholesome, and all of that. But in an equal-tempered system, having A set to 432 just sounds bad. And that's because of mathematics, fundamentally. Because if you change that value from 440 to 432, it means that certain keys don't sound very good, like the key of D major. Should sound bright and strident, like it does. Sounds nice and bright and strident. But if you shift the tuning to 432, it messes up the harmonic series of each of those intervals, each of those notes, and the distance between the semitones. The balance of harmonic overtones changes, and you get some weird, freaky things happen that means that suddenly the key of D major doesn't sound quite so major. And then there are some keys you just cannot play in, like the key of B flat. You just can't play in B flat because it just sounds wrong, and horribly distorted. So that is why 440 was agreed, because with 440 you don't get any of that harmonic series overtone distortion like you do with 416 and 432. Which is why if you listen to some classical music, and if it's played on period instruments, like some of Mozart's symphonies, if you hear those played on period instruments from the time, those pieces really should be performed at 432 in order for them to sound correct. But this is why Mozart only wrote in a certain few keys, because those are the keys that work in 432. Shift everything to 440 and some of those keys won't work anymore, which is why Mozart wrote in those few keys that he did. But yes, so there is nothing spiritual about 432 in the slightest. It is complete pseudo nonsense, and I have stronger words for it that I could use, but I don't want to get demonetized. Just Bob says, so music written that predates 440 would sound completely different as written. Yes, it would. So alterations needed made with introduction and acceptance of 440. Yes. Yes, so if you listen to period music from the Baroque period, which from the early Baroque period, the late medieval, early Baroque period, that predates, I think it's 1630 something, that equal temperament came into being. Anything that predates equal temperament and is played on period instruments, to our modern ear, will sound not necessarily very pleasant to listen to. Because we are so accustomed now to the equal temperament system, and we're so accustomed to 440 that anything that isn't just sounds wrong to our particular Western trained ears. Other civilizations, places like India, the Polynesia, places like that, Aboriginal Australian music, they don't have that problem because they don't have equal temperament. So it doesn't sound wrong to them, whereas to us in the West it does, which is why if you listen to, some Oriental music, maybe even some Hindi classical music, some of the vocals to us sounds out of tune. It really isn't. It's just that they have microtones and we don't. Tones that are, subdivisions of the semitone. We don't have those in Western music. I mean, to a degree we don't. In blues and jazz music, yeah, we bend notes. Arguably that's microtonal music. But technically we don't. And I could do a whole show on that kind of stuff. And maybe I will. Maybe in the new house we will do some more shows on that kind of stuff. And I will, pull up some slides of some researched information on that. And I can go into a bit more depth if you guys are interested in that kind of stuff. If you're interested in more in the mathematical, theoretical concepts of how we ended up with where we are, I can certainly go through and do a show on those kind of things. So if you guys are up for that, let me know. Drop me an email. Jonny@jonny.lipshamstudios.co.uk. The web address is at the bottom there. Speaking of the web address, I am building a new website because I am not hosting my web presence, my website with Kajabi anymore. So if you have purchased my courses, so my songwriting, my music theory course, or the free compression course, if you have got those, and you have access to them, but you haven't downloaded the content, please download the content, because it will be going away this week. All of those courses will be going away this week. So if you have them, download the content. If you haven't bought them yet, go buy them before they go. But basically, as of Friday, this coming week, it'll all be gone. And there will be a new site replacing it, which will be coming in the next few weeks, next couple of weeks. But yeah, that was my other important announcement that I kind of forgot about at the start of the show. But yes, so new website, new house, brand new era for Jonny Lipsham Studios. So the web address will still be the same domain name, jonnylipshamstudios.co.uk. That will continue. It will just be a new site and on a new platform. I'm not going to be at Kajabi anymore because, as Mike says, Kajabi is very expensive. It is, unless I'm selling thousands of dollars worth of courses per week. Then I could sustain it, but I really haven't sold thousands of dollars worth of courses. So at the moment, it's kind of like a little bit of I'm making a massive loss on my courses. So if you have those courses, download all the content to your computers because they'll be going away. If you haven't bought one of my courses yet, go ahead and do so. As I say, they will all be going away, even the free compression course. However, my free compression course, once my new site is up and running again, that will come back. So if you haven't got that, don't worry, I will be bringing that back because it's still relatively new. It's only a couple of years old. So I would like to keep giving that one away. All right, so there we go, folks. It is 10 past the hour. I extended the show a little bit because it's the last one in this room. So thank you very, very much, everybody, for sticking with me over the years and for persevering through, those early years of this show. And thank you, everybody who has subscribed and liked over the last few years. And especially those of you that are new to my show and are here tonight, thank you very much. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please go hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. And when you hit that notification bell, select all notifications. That way you'll get notified about videos, posts, as well as the live show. So please go ahead and do that if you haven't done that already. If you have, you are awesome. If you want to donate any money, if you feel that way inclined, in the description box below, you will find a link to my PayPal. Go hit that if you feel so inclined. You don't have to. There's no obligation for anybody to donate anything. But if you would really like to, then go ahead and do that. But until then, folks, I will see you on July the 11th. Same time, same channel, different room. Until then, folks, good night. God bless. Take care. Against me, my back against the wall, holding all the worst cards I feel 2 feet tall. I'll stand and shout, no holding back. Do or die, gonna dig myself a hole. Oh, do or die, gonna dig myself a hole. Now I'm hanging tough and I'm never falling back. When defense fails, I'm going on the attack. I stand and shout, no hope.